people of the world of the so-called neoliberal economics. And I also, at the time, I said, look, it's not in the Democratic Party platform. This is Republican policy. We need it in the platform. The labor unions, ended up taking $250,000 they had promised me, and Jerry Werf at the time asked me, the president told me to, quote, go fuck myself. On the platform. Of course, I did run into him a few years later and reminded him that what had happened with NAFTA, and offered the same advice to him. I figured the Cheney approach. But these campaigns can't be run in a traditional way. They really, they're grassroots, they're direct. We have limited resources, but I've always found it best that when we directly confront the people, and there's also a tremendous range of emotion around economic populism, and that if we talk really about what is going on and how hard hit these people are, and we point out the wedge issues, like in Ohio had lost over 300,000 jobs in 2004. And Ken Blackwell realized that if they could put a constitutional amendment on against gay marriages, that they would be close enough to steal the election, which they did. But, part of the thing is that when I talk to people from Adams County and other places in Ohio, these are areas where there's not a single gay bar. There's plenty in Columbus, but there's not a single gay bar. No one is going to the churches there and going, we'd really like to get married in Adams County and vacation here. It's not a reality. These are false issues that they're putting out. And if we stay true to ourselves, if we stay true to our principles that there should be equality for all people, same-sex marriages and other factors, and that we are really talking about the great moral issues of the day, war and peace, the Sermon on the Mount, and that, their ability to create this corporate warmongering Jesus and to usurp the symbols of our culture must be directly confronted, and we must, embrace the entire people of the world. That's what the campaign's got to be about, is that we don't kill our brothers and sisters in Iraq. Those are our brothers and sisters, and those are our values.
I don't have anything more to say. I don't have any more to add to that.
All right. Well, my question is about our relationship with the corporate media in this presidential race. And as it has been said through this conference, or noted, the grip that corporations have over politicians, candidates, and the media, would it be a better strategy to launch a sort of Gandhian-style salt march away from corporate media instead of dancing with it, and declare a war essentially on the corporate process, the corporations being the most undemocratic institutions in society? Why are they running our democracy? So would it be useful, I gave them a copy of a local Marin County independent media guide. There could be a much better one produced nationally that grassroots groups can use as tools to reach out to people in their communities. Could be an online version as well. So that we're really celebrating, honoring, and guiding people to media that will serve them, that will help them understand what's going on with the political scene and the elections. What do you think about a strategy as simple as we can put it, like the Salt March was in taking on the British Empire?
Well, in my 2004 comeback congressional campaign, we didn't talk to the corporate media.
we talk to the people, and we talk to our local independent media. And that was basically all that it took for us to, we had no money, of course, to wage that kind of a campaign. So I understand that Cindy Sheehan was here yesterday, and she talked about not being able to get the corporate media. In my estimation, she doesn't need the corporate media. She just needs a phalanx of volunteers who will go knock on doors and spread her message to the voters, because ultimately it's the voters who count. And her message needs to get directly to the voters, and I think her message basically has already been given to the voters. And she really doesn't need the San Francisco Chronicle to interpret what she means. So that's this kind of a guide would be very helpful to that legion of candidates out there who would want to reach their voters, but do it outside of the corporate media. And in fact, the Atlanta Constitution, if they ever get a quote from me, they have to buy it. And I don't even give them a 5-cent click on their website.
I mean, the historic nature of this conference, I would like future historians to look back and say, this is when the new Liberation News Service that helped bring the Vietnam War to an end rose up, is that we have the potential in this room. And again, I'm someone who witnessed it in 2004. Remember on election night when I was a very sincere election observer, and I went down to the for-profit media where they were all inside a very warm building in the Capitol, and I begged the media, I said, come with me. Just a mile away from here, you'll see African Americans lined up in a freezing rain for hours, and they immediately jumped to it. Rupert Murdoch's London Times came and actually reported it, and Japanese public TV and German public TV, and a stringer from Pacifica. And when we held the first public hearing, some of you who are in this room today were there. And it really was covered by one black-owned TV station locally in Pacifica. But a whole movement was created, just like the Truth Movement on 9/11, out of people on the internet, vloggers, people with cameras. What we're going to have to do is come together, and whatever Cynthia says, that goes out in a vlog. That goes out, we write about it in a blog, it goes out. So, because we have the decentralized part, they are being destroyed. No one is reading their newspapers because their newspapers have no content. In Columbus, Ohio, I wrote a story that there was radioactive contamination at Battelle, right in the middle of the cities. 6 months later, and Battelle categorically denied it, the Columbus Dispatch, I almost missed the article, in the Metro section, said Battelle to landscape property. And it talked about how they were bringing shrubbery in. And when you went to the jump page inside, the last column was my lead. And there's also a small amount of radiation that was there. Because of this dishonesty of this for-profit media, because of the big six, only 80% of the mainstream for-profit infotainment product in the world, they have already destroyed their credibility. We have the credibility, and all we have to do is report the facts, what Cindy Sheehan is saying, what Cynthia McKinney is saying, and we need to network and we need to coordinate, and we should set up our own national online daily newspaper, and it should be decentralized reporting from bureaus all over this country and giving people a real alternative, because we're the ones they're reading. This is where young people are getting their news sources, not from the daily monopoly in my area known as the Columbus Dispatch.
You can't get a better wind-up than that. We do have history happening in this room, and I really want to re-emphasize Robert's point. We have in here the voices in our networks and the places that we ramify out to. If we start picking up the themes of Cynthia's campaign, which are our themes, then we are practically and historically the mainstream media, because we reflect the real values of the country. And I agree, the reframing from now on, we should never say corporate mainstream media, because that is an oxymoron. That doesn't even, it shouldn't exist in the same phrase or thought. Anyway, I wanted to thank our amazing panelists today and all of you. The next session, we'll be going back to your affinity groups and hopefully taking all this fire and thought and crafting it into the concrete kinds of ends we want to bring out of it. Please be thinking about the way Robert ended his incredible oration, because I think that encapsulates everything we've been shooting at, which he's apparently been channeling on his way over here.
Just told me I need to come and stand in front of the microphone. And I usually try to run away from microphones. But if anything, I would say that this is, I was told technically it's not a conference. This workshop that you're doing is so important. I don't know if you all have seen the film American Blackout. Oh, okay. Then you know that in 2002, when I was under intense attack, for a variety of reasons, there's a segment in that film where I say, I don't know what the progressive media in Georgia and around the country were doing. And the only thing I can say to you is that it's very difficult to know what the personal struggle is for an individual who decides to put their body inside those gears of the machine. Because when you're chewed up, it's not pleasant. It wasn't pleasant for my mother to watch the distortion of her child. It wasn't pleasant for me to watch even my own distortion to the country. And to know that the lasting impression that people have of the work that I did in Congress, which was very serious work, very serious issues. And in some cases has not been resurrected now that I'm gone. Like, for example, the $2.3 trillion missing from the Pentagon. We've got legislation on depleted uranium munitions, but it doesn't ban the use of depleted uranium munitions. We ought to provide treatment for our veterans and any soldiers who are in the theater where depleted uranium munitions have been used. We shouldn't have to ask them to prove that they are experiencing health effects from depleted uranium. The fact that our government can't even give us an audit of its budget, and they haven't been able to do that for the last 10 years. I mean, these are very serious issues. Where is our money going? I agree with Code Pink. At some point, we got to stop giving them our money if they're not going to be held accountable. So now I have an answer to that question of where the progressive media are. You're here. And you're coming up with an action plan that's going to protect the next person who gets elected to office and who dares to stand up and become a whistleblower, because basically that's what I was. I was a whistleblower. And to the extent that you can be organized so that whistleblowers feel free and confident to get out there and do what it takes in order for us to get our country back, then it really is all on you. All of the hopes and the dreams that we have for our country, all of the righteousness that I know that our country can do around the world, the good things that our country can do around the world, it depends on us working collectively and making the impact and protecting those who are willing to put their very bodies on the line. I just did an interview, and I was reminded of my very first campaign theme. It was, warriors don't wear medals, they wear scars. And the corporate media have emblazoned for all of the world to see my scars. I've got lots of scars, just like Sojourner Truth bared her back, and the scars of the lash were there for all the world to see. So now those scars are the medals, and I'm sure that everybody in here has got some scars. Everybody in here. You all are warriors, communities warriors, and all you want is for our country to be a better country, a better steward of its resources, a better steward of our resources, a better partner to the people around the world. We don't have to have this legacy of hate, division, war, militarism. We don't have to have it. We can stand once again as that beacon of hope that we used to be around the world. I really believe that. And I also believe that the American people have the wherewithal to make this country become what it needs to be. But we cannot suffer coup after coup after coup, assassination after assassination after assassination, political assassination after political assassination. My COINTELPRO is my thing, and Bobby Kennedy, the murder of Bobby Kennedy. Can you imagine the country we could have had if Bobby Kennedy had been able to join forces with Martin Luther King Jr. as president and vice president of this country? That's what snipers' bullets stole from us. That's what snipers' bullets stole from us. And so I will conclude with a quote from Bobby Kennedy. You remember that the speech he made on the night that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was murdered, and he said, what kind of America do we want? Do we want an America of division, of hatred, an America of violence? Or do we want to recognize that all of us, black and white, really want the same things out of life? We can have an America where we are friends with each other and we are friends with the world. It's our vision and it's our hope. And it's the action that we put into that vision and that hope that can make it a reality. He said that 1 million acts on behalf of justice, when combined with other single acts of justice, can become like the mightiest walls, what did he say, can become a mighty torrent that can wash down even the mightiest walls of oppression. And that's what your single words for justice will become, that torrent that can wash down the mightiest walls of oppression that have been constructed right here in our country that we don't even recognize. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to keep it brief here, particularly following Cynthia McKinney, one of my own personal heroes and one of the people that came to our aid in Ohio. Just want to say, again, this is publicizing truth with consequences, right? Oh, sorry, some of you weren't here. I'm Bob Fitrakis. I publish the freepress.org and the Columbus Free Press, and I wasn't able to speak yesterday, so I was graciously giving a few minutes here. But there's sort of a duality to the theme of the conference. The one duality is publicizing truth with consequences, right? Oh my God, if we say these things, oh, we better be scared because we know we're actually telling the facts about a government which is, and let's use the F word, fascist, right? I mean, part of the problem with language is they try to keep you, and Confucius talked about this because things don't change until you speak frankly about what they are, right? If you have crony capitalism, if you've got a group of war profiteers of long standing, like the Bush family, if you've got the, sort of low IQ son of the CIA director as a front piece for a country that is hijacking oil in the Middle East and trying to create permanent and perpetual war, that is fascism. Now, the new jackboots may be shinier and they may have new high-tech devices, but that's what they are. And we realize that there are consequences when you begin to talk directly about this intertwining military-industrial complex, prison-industrial complex, security-industrial complex, and that part of their job is to scare us into not reporting what we all know to be actual facts about their war profiteering and about their fascist nature. But on the other hand, by us publicizing truth, there are consequences. We can get our democracy back. That's the consequence. We can reclaim our freedoms, our societies. We can publish the truth. And no greater truth comes out of this conference than if we unite. The discredited Orwellian mainstream media has no legitimacy. We are the ones at this moment in history who are recording what is actually happening. And I'll tell you the consequences. The consequences is we create a new mass movement in the tradition of the Knights of Labor, in the tradition of the populists, in the tradition of the great grassroots roots movements of the 30s and the 1960s. And we move in and take over this country because we're the ones that are actually prepared to lead, because we're not creating a false reality and we're not trying to destroy people's lives and we're not the most hated regime in the world. This president is a uniter, not divider. He brought 18 million people into the streets on a single day. And it's our job to link up with those people worldwide in our own country and sweep this regime from office. They are fascists, they are authoritarians, and it's up to us to tell the actual truth. That is our job, and we need to link up, and that's the most important thing that's going on at this point in history, is what will come out of this conference. Let's do our job and remove these fascists. Thank you.